This is an SM Media production. Hi everyone and welcome to episode 12 of SM Media's Road to Cheltenham. I'm Scott McPike, delighted to be your host as always, joined by Calum McClurkin as always. Calum, been a busy week, how have you been?
Yeah, good, thank you. Very busy.
What's a couple of horses that have caught my eye over the weekend?
I quite like Next Destination's effort at Warwick. He was fairly decent, although he might not be going to the right race for Cheltenham or to Cheltenham at all now. It's quite interesting, and I still quite like Ganapathy a lot. He was second in the Moscow Flyer to Real Deal. I thought a lot went against him, and he's still inexperienced and quite unexposed.
Yeah, definitely. We'll get straight into our questions we've received over the week. First question is, who do we think will be the champion jockey at the 2021 Cheltenham Festival? I've got three names written down, but I'll give it to you, Callum. Who you got first?
Yeah, probably Paul Townend. I think he's probably got a wonderful book of rides across the whole festival. Willie Mullins' team were in frightening form at Christmas, and if they come over and replicate that, then I think Paul Townend he's at least get 5-6 favourites in the book, probably double that in terms of sound chances.
I've written down 7 horses that he's got at the top of the market in the big races. We've got Appreciate It in the Supreme, Monkfish in the RSA, Shakan Perswa in the Queen Mother, Min in the Ryanair, Galwa in the Mayor's Novice, Albon Photo in the Gold Cup, and Statler in the Albert Bartlett. So yeah. Quite healthy, isn't it? It's quite healthy. I've got Paul Townend written down. He's about 8 to 11. Rachel Blackmore, I think, could as well be in contention. She's got a good book of rides if they all make it to Cheltenham. Honeysuckle, Bob Ollinger, your horse Holy Macapone, if he gets back to his best, and Manel Ando in the Gold Cup. So there could be a healthy book of rides for her. Patrick Mullins as well could be an outsider. He's about 16 to 1. He's got a few good ones. Sharjah, Billoway in the Fox Hunters, Mellon in the Ryanair, and possibly Kilcroot in the Champion Bumper. So it's a pretty decent book of rides.
Yeah, there's a lot of interest. There's a ban in amateur and conditional jockeys at the moment, which is a bit of a worry for maybe a leading amateur like Patrick Mullins. I'd expect it to be smoothed over in time.
Do you think it will? Yeah.
Hopefully by mid-February it should kind of all be a bit more mellowed down and it will be extended a little bit. The jockey situation, that if you're looking for a jockey championship bet, it's quite fluid. I mean, look at Ireland, look at the Savills Chase there. I mean, Darrell O'Keefe picked up the winning ride in Apple Tard. So you would expect maybe more unusual bookings than normal at Cheltenham, and it's probably not set in stone who's going to ride what as you normally expect at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. Second question, are we likely to see Faugheen at the 2021 festival? What do you think?
I don't think so. I think they'll probably wait for Punchestown, I'm afraid.
I think as well, yeah. I think as well. I'd love to see him in a Gold Cup. I've said that for 2 years. I'd love to see him running a Gold Cup, but again, I think there's a problem with fitness as well, so I think they might just get his swan song at Punchestown. Last question. What is one horse you thought would win at Cheltenham, at a past Cheltenham festival that didn't? You go first, because I've got 2, and they're from the same year.
Jack Adam, who constantly hit the crossbar in the Gold Cup all the time. He was second twice. He's really unlucky numerous times. You know, he's kind of thought he was going to come and catch Don Cossack, didn't. Thought he'd come and catch Coney Gray, didn't quite. Then he had chances the season before and the season after. He had a fair go at it. He never went shorter than 14 to 1 for 5 or 6 Cheltenham Festival races. So I think he was a bit unlucky not to get his head in front.
I've got 2 from 2012. This was the first year I kind of really took Cheltenham seriously and was like following form and things like that. And there was 2 horses that stood out as absolute bankers for me. It was Grand Cru and the RSA. Remember that? And it was Boston Bob and Albert Bartlett. Grand Cru just didn't travel well at all, when Boston Bob just get pipped in the line for the Albert Bartlett. Bobsworth actually beat Grand Cru and went on to win the Gold Cup the year later. But I just did this thing that Grand Cru was going to be this superstar novice chaser. He was going to be a Gold Cup winner, 2012. Boston Bob as well was just, it was when Mullins, the kind of rich richies were beginning to emerge, and the Wileys had a few for Willie Mullins, and Boston Bob was very, very well thought of, and I thought he would just sweep the field. Just finished second. Brindisi Breeze, I think it was, that beat him. So they're my two horses. They were the two nailed on ones I thought that year, but no such luck. And that was this week's fan questions. We'll take a look at the recap, the horses that have been catching our eye over the weekend. We'll start off on Wednesday at Naas, where we saw Energamine win the Novice Chase, beating Captain Guinness and Blackbow. 6-1 now, second favourite for the Arkle. How impressed were you with Energamine? I thought it was outstanding.
Yeah, serious performance. Another one that had all the stock watchers kind of purring yet again. He was very good. He jumped slightly to his right.
Yeah.
It was enough for me to notice a wee bit. And good ground, I think, would be a bit of an unknown for him. Not a negative, but we don't know. His two performances have been quite staggering, really, from the front on deep conditions. He put away a decent rival in Captain Guinness fairly comfortably. He's odds on now for the Irish Arkle.
Mm-hmm.
He'll probably get better ground at Leopardstown, so I think that would reveal a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, he's certainly now developed as the clear main threat to Shishkin.
Yeah, I wish I'd tipped him up sooner. There was prices going about 14-1, 16 from Arkle, and I thought, yeah, he could be a very, very good contender. Huge fan of him. I was really, really impressed. Blackpool never really get put in the race as well. I was quite disappointed with him. But
yes, he was given a rather sympathetic ride, shall we say. Bit of a strange one.
Yeah, definitely. We'll move on to Wednesday in Naas, and I'm not going to beat my own drum, but Bob Ollinger, now 4-1 for the Ballymore. What a horse this is. I think he's an absolute superstar. Superb performance, beat a really good field. What do you think? I think he's top class.
I think you're entitled to get a wee bit excited about him. Yeah. The thing I really like about him is that the way he hits the line, he hits it really hard. He absolutely, the best work is at his finish, and that's a good sign for horses. Powered away for Blue Lord. Blue Lord did pull really hard for 2 miles. Blue Lord probably did really well to actually stay up there until the last. We lost Ashdale Bob early, who was probably the main yardstick for the form. So I would like to see him against better opposition. But I think at the top of the market, I think he's probably got the most potential. He's certainly got the right profile for the race. Yeah, I think he's entitled to be almost joint favourite with Brave Man's Game. Yeah,
definitely. I love him. Absolutely love him. We'll move on to Saturday in Fairyhouse. We saw a few horses on Saturday, but we'll start off in Fairyhouse with Aramax, a old favourite of mine from last year. Now, can I get finally his first win over fences, a 2 mile 1 beginner's chase. Nice performance, into 16-1 for the Grand Annual. Do you think this could be a potential chance in the Grand Annual?
Could be. It's a bit of guesswork involved into what handicap mark you'd get. Yeah. I'd be guessing probably 138, something like that, mid to high 130s, which should probably be enough to creep him into a Grand Annual, I think. The thing is, for me, is he's still very inexperienced. He's only giving me a 5-year-old. Chuck him in a Grand Annual. It's a mad dash race, really, and a lot can go wrong, and it can catch out a horse with inexperience. But he's a Fred winner at Cheltenham, so there was a few others in that race that shaped up quite well.
Yeah, definitely.
Alpha Mix ran quite well, who was in third. He wasn't asked for maximum effort, so I think a couple of them are looking for some decent handicap marks to come over with.
Yeah, definitely. We'll move on to Market Raisin with Eileen Dover, won a Mayor's Bumper. Very, very impressive performance. She's now 11-1 for the Champion Bumper. Kind of clear second, roughly her and Kilcroot sharing second favouritism. What do you think of her? I thought she was quite good.
She was excellent and classy, but I don't think she's going to go at the moment. I think Aintree seems to be the plan, and I think she's going to be a flat campaigner. So, and I think Cheltenham would probably stretch her a little bit. I mean, I can see the temptation. We were drawn in this time last year by Panic Attack of Willie Mullins.
Yeah.
You know, four-year-old mare getting all these allowances, but they don't have a good record in this Cheltenham Bumper. Sometimes empties them as well. So the Palm Sly Yard, they see her value and they see her future over the flat.
Definitely. Move on and get a few to mention. Warwick. We'll start off with Sky Pirate, now 5-1 for the Grand Annual. This is a difficult one because there's no doubt this horse is a very, very good campaigner. But again, he was 145 before the race. He's been raced £7 now to 152. Does that make it a lot more difficult to win a Grand Annual?
It certainly does, yeah. He won quite well enough at Warwick. Yeah. He showed a bit more fight than he normally did. Normally he was this standard bridle horse that didn't really fight too much, but the key to him has been dropping him back in trip. It seemed to make the world of difference. 2 miles. 152 will make life harder for him, particularly when we see these unexposed Irish horses getting low marks potentially coming up against him. They'll probably get more potential, but he's a third season novice and he could go the Arkle route, which is quite something. He's 20 to 1 for that. Is 152 enough? No, you'll need to improve maybe £8 to £10 to be an each way player in it. He'll probably need to improve £4 to £6. He's probably not found his ceiling quite yet in the handicap mark, and he has a lot of experience in his side, so he'd be a long shot each way player in an Arkle at the moment. Yeah.
Next destination as well, won a 3 mile novices chase. Horse just keeps winning. He's come back and kind of shown how good he is. He's sort of about 14 to 1 for the RSA, 10 to 1 National Hunt Chase. The way he kept on suggests to me that he could be a National Hunt Chase contender.
It was a very good race. It was I think it's a 3-runner field, but it was kind of cat and mouse. But both he and Fiddle on the Roof gave it a real good go. Next destination did well. He was given weight all round, which was a bit of hard doing. Warwick is a very stiff jumping test as well, so for both of them to handle that really well is a big asset to have. Personally, he's entitled to go for the RSA Chase. He's got enough class for it, but the National Hunt Chase, I think, is more suitable and probably more winnable for him. But again, Paul Nicholls kind of poured cold water later on about the idea of going to Cheltenham, and they could probably head to Aintree instead.
Yeah, Nicholls has said that about a few horses. What do we think that is? Is it just down to he doesn't have a really big thought of them going to Cheltenham? I think he kind of prefers Aintree, or is there maybe something else there?
Yeah, him and Dan Skelton, to their credit, they don't orientate all their plans around Cheltenham as maybe much as bigger trainers. Not bigger trainers, but other trainers do, like Nicky Henderson probably would be more Cheltenham orientated. Willie Mullins and Gordon Elliott will obviously have an eye on it, but probably because they've got the big ownerships, the big syndicates, that's what they want. Paul Nicholls hasn't been like that. I mean, he's more of an all-rounder. I think his horses, you look at his best horses, I think they're more suited to flat tracks in general. Yeah, it's just a general trend rather than trainer view. So I think trainers are creatures of habit, and they follow what they believe in. But yes, some of them do have a go, and when they do, they're quite well targeted.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't agree more. We'll move on to Imperial Alcazar, now 12 to 1, second favourite for the Pertemps final. This was a very good performance. I thought this was probably one of the performances of the week. I think he's a great chance in this race.
He'll be off 147 now, which is not too bad. He's very unexposed. The long straight at Haydock the time before just caught him out. He went for home too soon at the bend. He was actually leading 3 out and then finished well down midfield. Learned his lesson, delivered them a bit later, and a bit easier track to get. And powered home. He does have Cheltenham form as well. He's awarded a race behind Protectorate last year, which is strong form. He's certainly progressing. The trainer Fergal O'Brien didn't entirely rule out a Stairs Hurdle till
he needs to get off that train. He needs to run this year.
He is an ambitious trainer, which is fair credit to him.
Have you seen his Twitter? He's brilliant on Twitter. I love Fergal O'Brien.
He's very funny. He's very funny on Twitter. Yeah. But maybe a bit more seriousness in his race planning with
I think
Imperial Alcazar. I think that Pertemps is an obvious race for him.
Yeah, I think as well. We've seen Messiah de Belly. He's obviously won the Pertemps twice, and now he's going Stairs Hurdle. Have a crack at the Pertemps, then go Stairs Hurdle. Just give us a bit of form. But I think Imperial Alcazar, if he goes here, could be a very good chance. Let's go on to Sunday. We'll touch on we thought we were going to see the duel between Envoi Allen and Asterion for Longe. One fence in, we get a steering for launch does what he does, just falls whenever. Envoi Allen then basically, I wouldn't say he got a solo. I would say, obviously people have been saying he won really easily. Fielded that he ran pretty well to get like within 2.5 lengths to him. He's evens for the Marsh now. I think that's the price of the century, because I think he's just going to go and bolt up, to be honest. What do you think? I think I thought it was a decent performance, but I wouldn't say it was as easy as people are making it out to be.
No, it was a good performance. He was probably in third gear throughout, though. Didn't have to do much. Stephen Furlong's obviously falling. He's a disappointment early on.
He's just a screwball, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, he fell from nowhere last time at Limerick, and that looked to have an impact on him. He put in an extra stride and totally decelerated into the fence. Willie Burns is scrambling about for an opportunity to get him out as soon as possible. So, I mean, I just maybe look for the headgear. He needs help with his concentration.
Yeah,
there's obviously a good engine in there, but just needs a bit more assistance and to be a bit more tractable. And I think that hampered Envoi Allen slightly. I think that's why it forced Jack Kennedy to take a lead, which I don't think he wants. I think he'd be better with a lead rather than making all his own running. And I think he's just wary of the loose horses in front of him. Don't think he just let's avoid mishap here. Your main rival's gone, and at the last, Stephen Furlong was running right across him almost.
Yeah,
that's why he didn't accelerate from the second to the last, because of the loose horse. If he did, he would have been carried out quite easily. So it was a smart bit of race riding by Jack Kennedy, and it allowed Fielded, who's a good horse that I quite rate, a chance at the last, and then Envoi Allen just accelerated away.
Yeah, I mean, Envoi Allen was always going to win, but I think as well we've got to look at. We'll probably not. I would highly doubt we'll see him again before the Marsh. What goes to the Marsh and gives him a serious threat, do we think?
You're looking at Allart, who's got an entry at Haydock on Saturday. He's potentially one classy novice that could step up and maybe give him a race. There might be a few others down the line. The argument against Envoi Allen is that he hasn't beaten much, but I quite like the second. I think the second is a very underrated horse and did quite well to keep him relatively honest. But he's fast. He's faster than people think that he is. If you watch a Ballymore, he was well down coming round the bend. He was 6 or 7 lengths down in a steering Furlong. He just ate up the ground. By the time he hit the last, he was in front. And again, I think chasing's his game. 3 miles is a game. Stamina would probably be a stronger suit. It's his turn of foot that's winning in races when he's forced to take a lead and go fairly slow and be a bit careful. So it's very hard to find a chink in his armour at the moment. Definitely.
We'll move on to the Moscow Flyer. This race I'm keen to get your thoughts on. Real Deal won it about 20 to 1, bit of a shock, but it was a very good race. I thought there was a few good things to take away from it. Real Deal though for Ronan McNally. Is Ronan McNally the best interview you've ever seen? Because I think he's amazing to listen to.
If you can understand it.
Yeah, it's just funny, just brilliant.
Some people find us hard enough to understand. Try listen to him for 10 minutes, I would say. 84 rated handicap. I remember watching him in air, and he was beat out of sight. So he thought, nothing to see here. He's rated 45 in the flat, I think. He's now up to 145. The race fell apart from a pace perspective.
Yeah,
went far too hard.
Yeah.
He was the last to place hand, and he won accordingly. The second, I think, Ganapathy is a massive eye catcher.
I quite like him.
He was travelling like the winner until the last, where he just slowed into it, like he did at Cork in his debut. He just slowed into it. People saying the winner was going well enough, and it wouldn't have mattered. It looked like it mattered to me. I mean, it probably made a 3-length difference, but it probably took 2 lengths out the winner. 2 lengths out the second, and then the winner kind of gained a bit of momentum looking at that. And also, the mid part of the race, Ganapathy was the one that was dragging the field along to catch up with the leader.
Yeah.
That would have taken a lot of effort as well. You realised that the favourite Magic Tricks wasn't wasn't up to it. He was broken by the pace, which was probably Mullins' tactic to get the favourite beaten.
Yeah.
But it worked against Ganapathy because he just dragged everything else into the race, travelled the best, travelled like the graded horse in the race, only to be mugged. Really, I know three lengths exaggerates it a little bit, but I do think he was mugged. He was entitled to get quite tired.
Real Deal's 20-1 for the Supreme, but he's also, as you say there, still off a mark of 145, so he could potentially go towards a handicap route. What I took away from it was, though, he won going away, so he might be suited to a step up and trip. Where do you think his target is for the festival, if he goes there at all?
No idea.
It's hard to.
Probably the Supreme. If you win a race like that, I think you probably have to go there. But a handicap option isn't too bad. He won going away because he was the only one that could move after the last.
Yeah, pretty much.
He's the only one that stayed. I mean, a sensible gallop, I think Ganapathy would have won.
Yeah.
And he's younger, more unexposed.
Definitely. Final horse to mention, Monday in Air. How lucky are we? 12 episodes in and we're finally mentioning our hometown racecourse.
Yeah.
Brilliant. It's about time. Damn the Company, a horse you tipped up last week for the Mare's Chase, won really well, beat Cornerstone Lad. 2-horse race, but you've got to say it was a good performance. 8-1 now for the Mare's Chase. How are you feeling now up with Damn the Company?
I just love this horse. more and more, just love her. This was probably a track, a trip, the ground that she didn't like.
Aye.
A class or through on a novice chasing debut, which was good. She made a big mistake at the third, and then that's kind of knocked her back a little bit. I think probably the pace of a 2-mile trip and early errors as an education would have been good for her. But her last 3 fences were terrific. Yeah,
my wee brother was working at it. He was at the second last, and he said to me, I've never seen a horse jump that fence as well as Damn the Company did.
Yeah, she pinged the last as well, which was the fence that she made the mistake in initially. Yeah. But in old traditional Nicky Henderson fashion, he was quite non-committal about festival options for her.
Yeah, that's what worries me, to be honest.
It worries me slightly, but I've got no bet. So
yeah,
so what I kind of indicated earlier on. I think she will still end up here. I really do.
Yeah, I don't see her going back over hurdles, to be honest.
Yeah, her connections are quite lofty, I think. She will be at Cheltenham in some capacity, given her track record. Fences don't really go after a good debut. That you don't really want to revert back to hurdles. But yeah, I think she's so classy and so versatile that she can do whatever she really wants. 148 is a feasible mark still for a Coral Cup.
Aye.
But I think when Nicky Henderson comes out and it comes out so quickly after not being there and explaining the situation, it suggests that he's talking about a really classy horse and one that he really rates.
Yeah,
he doesn't do that quite often. So I just think he's traditionally playing his cards as close to his chest as possible. And yeah, if you've got that no bet security, even without it, I would still be fairly confident that she'd turn up the Mare's Chase. And I think she'd have a very strong chance.
Yeah, I think she's got a really good chance in that. That was our look at our recap for the week. We'll take a look now at our race preview this week, and we are taking a look at the Ballymore Novices Hurdle. This was a 2-mile 5 Novices Hurdle, produced some great winners over the past few years. The likes of Sam Crow have won this race, so it's a good race. Envoi Allen obviously won it last year very, very well. Let's take a look at the field for this year. We have joint favourites at 4-1 in Brave Man's Game and Bob Bollinger. Appreciate It at 7-1. Gaillard du Mesnil at 8-1. Cape Gentleman 14-1. Irascible 16-1 and 20-1 bar. Callum, we'll start off with the first of the 2 joint favourites, Brave Man's Game. Obviously a very impressive winner of the Charlo. What do you think of him? Do you think he's a strong contender in this race?
I do. I think he's probably just about the right favourite. Shallow form is, I don't know a lot about the form, but the performance was really impressive on deep ground. But it was a really good run, really good effort. He's probably going to be a better chaser in time. 6-year-old trained by Paul Nicholls. He does tick a lot of boxes, and I've got him ranked as the best here at the moment 155 in my figures anyway. So he just about sets the standard for me.
Yeah, I think he's really, really good. Bob Bollinger as well, 4-1. I've tipped him at 25-1 to win any race at the festival. I'm pretty happy with that. I think though as well, we saw he's got a lot of speed. We saw last year when Envoi Allen, as you said, I think the speed kind of won him the race. I can see Bob Bollinger doing Brave Man's Game for a bit of pace here, to be honest. I really, really think Bob Bollinger's just the best horse in this race, to be honest.
Yeah, you can see both of them being prominent. And maybe Bob Bollinger does probably have a wee bit more boot in him than Brave Man's Game.
Yeah.
Although I don't think Brave Man's Game is that slow, but they've both won a Grade 1. So they're both certainly entitled to be up there as a top 2 in the market for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate it 7-1. Obviously now 5-2 favourite for the Supreme, but we did think at the start of the year that this would be the race Appreciate It goes for. It's very, very unlikely he's going here, isn't it?
It looks unlikely now. I still believe he should be going here, though.
Yeah, me too.
It's a more suitable race for him. But because the way the Supreme's cut up, and this race has not cut up, it looks probably the stronger of the 3 novice hurdle races at the moment. And you can see why they're going Supreme. He's proved he's got enough pace at Grade 1 novice level to deal with 2 miles. So you can see the logic in it.
Yeah. The next 3 horses are very, very interesting. Gaillard du Mesnil at 8-1 for Willie Mullins. This horse looks the real deal. I really, really like him. I think he's 8-1 is quite big for him.
Yeah, so they are. I think he'd probably be my play in the race at the moment at the prices. Although only 2 runs have been made in company, he was thrashed by Holly Macapone, but he improved in that. Travelled really swiftly last time out to break his maiden quite easily, very easily. He's a good horse. We'll probably see him Grade Company, probably see him in the Dublin Racing Festival.
I think we will.
Which would tell a wee bit more. But he might be more versatile trip-wise than some people think. Might be 2-miler as well. Yeah,
definitely. Cape Gentleman, 14-1. Very, very interesting horse here as well. I think he's quite big. I was quite impressed with him when I saw him. But again, stepping into that graded company, do we think he's going to be able to handle that?
I think he's got a 1.5 stone to find, which would worry me. And he doesn't have the lofty connections of some of us at the top. So I'd have. He was impressive, visually impressive, but the form in behind I don't think stacks up at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. Irascible, 16-1. We mentioned him last week. I think he's going to go here. I think this is the race he'll end up in. If he goes here, again, we said last week, he's got a chance.
There's a chance could go here. He could go Martin Pipe, rated off 138. I think he's probably slightly better than that. He'd be an each way player if he continues to improve, which he should. Second to Appreciate It, step up and trip, and another run under his belt. He should get better. So if he does improve to an anticipated level, he'd be an each way player as well.
Yeah, definitely. 20-1 bar. Is there any horses that take your fancy that are further down the field?
I think there's quite a few. I think I'll give Blue Lord deserves an honourable mention. I think if they're sticking to this trip with him, if he learns to settle a bit better. Ashdale Bob, if he recovers from his fall. Kescon Risk as well. Joseph O'Brien he was third in the race at Appreciate It, and Irascible were in. He shaped quite well, weak in the market. He'd probably improve for a step up and trip. There's quite a few. My Drogo as well would be interesting for the Brits, and Dan Skelton here if he's keen to send third time lucky to the Supreme. My Drogo could end up here, and I like My Drogo more than third time lucky, so I wouldn't entirely rule him out. So there's a bit of depth to this race, I think, as well. Yeah,
there is. It looks a really, really good race on paper. What are we looking for stats wise when we'll try to pick the winner for this race?
Yeah, there's no standout statistic, but I'll give you quantity over quality this week, I think. 9 of the last 10 winners have been age 6.
Right.
So, I mean, Gaillard du Mesnil's a 5-year-old, for instance. Appreciate It 7. 11 of the last 12 winners have been rated 146 or higher. So it does go to a classy operator. I mean, Cape Gentleman, for instance, would have a lot to find. Only 2 of the last 12 winners have ever run at Cheltenham before.
Is that right?
So track form is not really that important, to be honest, for a novice race like this. 6 of the last 12 winners were unbeaten in the season they won the Ballymore. So, I mean, Brave Man's Game, Bob Wallens have both been beaten this season.
Yeah, that's right.
4 of the last 9 favourites have won. So it's a decent race for punters, and 7 of the last 9 were in the top 3 of the betting. So Cream normally rises to the top in this race. 4 of the last 7 renewals have been won by Willie Mullins or Gordon Elliott as well.
Brilliant. Well, we'll ask you for a pick. Obviously, everybody knows mine. I'm going for Bob Ollinger. I think he's the best horse in this race. What's your pick for this Ballymore?
Really tight. Probably at the prices, Blue Lord each way.
Brilliant. And that was our look at the Ballymore Novices Hurdle. Now we'll take a look at what's coming up this week, and we've got a few great races on Saturday and Sunday. We'll start off with our Grade 1 at Ascot, the Clarence House Chase. We'll see potentially Politolog versus Waiting Patiently versus Defi de Soy. Callum, I think Politolog's nailed on here, 5-4. I think he's going to lead from the front and win. Again, Waiting Patiently has been supplemented, very interesting. But I'm in the Politolog camp for this race.
Yeah, he's proven his welfare, hasn't he? He's set a standard. He's probably a horse that doesn't get the respect he deserves. He's seen as picking up scraps. He picked up the Champion Chase because Defi de Soy didn't run his race.
Yeah.
But he was really stalled at Sandown, the Tingle Creek. It was a good performance. It backed it up. He's won around here as well. Interesting that Harry Cobden rides, not Harry Skelton this time, because Harry Skelton's going to ride Nubian Egg in the Champion Chase, so they wanted Harry Cobden back in before that. That does suggest to me, though, that there is maybe more than one eye on the Champion Chase, so he might be vulnerable. Waiting Patiently.
If it's soft ground, Waiting Patiently, you can't rule him out, but again,
his profile isn't convincing, is it? I mean, you haven't really seen enough of him to weigh in at 5-2 in a race like this, really. And the King George form, I think, is questionable. The Defi de Soy, you'd like to see him bounce back to form, but I think he's taking a little bit too much in trust here.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see what the Nichols camp do with Duke Ginevra, because he's entered in this Darryl Jacobs jocked up. He's going to go out in the front and pester Politolog, imagine. He only knows one way of running.
Yeah.
So tactically, it might be more of an interesting affair than some people think.
Yeah, definitely. I think it'll be a very good race. I'm quite excited, but I'm going to go with Politolog. There's another race at Ascot, the Mares Hurdle, where Roxana, we'll see her come back. 5-6. I don't think there's much behind her. Like that, Eglantine de Sol and Magic of Light are entered. Magic of Light's been aimed towards a Grand National. I think this is a prep run for her. Roxana, I think 5-6. I think she's the top class horse in this race.
Yeah, I can't take odds on about her though.
No.
Magic of Light is, I know the Grand National's a prep. It's a prep for the Grand National, but she has won this the last twice.
Yeah.
I know Roxana. It's probably something that's like Roxana's not been in it before. Dan Skelton's yard have been brilliant all season, but the last 2 weeks have been 1 for 18. If everyone continues to pile into Roxana, I think I would have a quiet little bet in Magic of Light on the side.
Very good.
I think she will be reasonably tuned up for this.
Yeah, I think Roxana's been aimed towards the stairs, to be honest. But if she goes here, I think she's a great chance. Haydock, the new one hurdle, where we'll see the return of two-time champion hurdle winner Bouvard there. It's interesting this because he's going up against Song for Someone, a slightly fancy Song for Someone more than Bouvard there. But how good would it be to see Bouvard there back?
It would be. I hope it's on, because I think Haydock are called an inspection for tomorrow, which is not a good sign. I'd probably prefer Song for Someone slightly. He's 4 years younger, and we know that he's all good. Bouverdaire probably is. Bouverdaire will be getting £6 from Song for Someone and Ballyandy. It is the new one hurdle. Ballyandy won it last year. The new one won it 4 times. Nigel Twist and Davis's team are in form. If Song for Someone's got a future target in mind, Bouverdaire's not fully wound up. Ballyandy could win this, and I think you can get 4-1 on a 5-runner field with him. I think he's guaranteed to run his race all the time. So maybe at the prices side with him if you struggle to split someone for someone in Bouvier.
Yeah, it's a very interesting race, but I'm going to side with someone for someone just for, I think conditions will suit him. Thurles, we've got a race on Sunday at Thurles, the Jockey Hotel Chase, where we could see Allaho and Battle Over Doyen against one another. I'm a big fan of Allaho. I think finally Allaho might have a strong claim for this race. I think conditions will suit here.
Yeah, it's a really interesting race. Probably two of the most two horses with serious potential that haven't probably showed it yet in Allaho and Battle Over Doyen. It'll be interesting to see if one of them or both of them can actually start stringing it together. I think Allaho's a bit shy in experience. I do like him. I think everyone kind of does. I think everyone kind of thinks there's a serious horse in there.
Mm-hmm.
He does keep making fiddly mistakes sometimes, which he didn't really do in his novice chase season. I think he was probably campaigned over a trip that was a bit too long. And dropping back here, I'd like to see him freewheel from the front and see what happens. And that would make him a leading player for the Ryanair, but it's just whether he's got that experience behind him is a bit of a worry for me. I'll wait till the day to see what the final.
Yeah, field is. I think you're right. I think you're right, but I think Allaho is. I'm in the Allaho camp for. I think he's a big player. And that was our look at what's coming up this week. We'll move on to our Ante Post Picks, and I've got a wee thing to mention here. Obviously, I lost one of mine over the weekend. The Thought Scout to Connections of Moya Head. It was a sore one to watch, wasn't it?
Yeah, was it pretty? Very, very sad when these things happened, and he was being smartly campaigned towards that race as well, I think.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it was very hard done by.
Yeah, definitely. See, when we're looking at our Ante Post Pick portfolio, what's the one you think now could be a bit of genius for you?
I think the double, the early movement in Dandy Company is quite good, I think, as well. Not a lot of mine have moved that much.
Nah, me too.
To be honest, I haven't quite seen them. It's probably a lot of side that we probably value over conviction at the moment. But yeah, I think that the Envoi Allen Shishkin double, even though Energamine might emerge as a threat, I think that's probably the best of them.
Yeah, Bob Ollinger looks to be my captain of the ship now. 16-1 now into kind of 7-2 to win any race at the festival. I think it's a pretty good pick for me. I'm quite happy. I'm very happy with it, actually. We'll move on to our selections for this week. How many have you got?
Just the one.
Just the one. I've got one too. We'll start off with you. What you got this week?
Yeah, given that Dussac seems to have bitten the dust in the Supreme, I'm going to back Ganapathy at 20-1 non-running bet for the Supreme. I do think he's exciting. He's unexposed, and I think everything went against him in the Moscow Flyer. I think there is a horse of potential there. He has to improve. I do admit that, but he's trained by Willie Mullins. He's a French bred. He's only had 3 runs in his life, and he's either going to get shorter or he's not going to turn up.
Yeah.
So with the non-runner bet at the bank at 20-1 in a race that I think is worth taking the favourite on, maybe for a bit of maybe something can mug him for speed. And I think if he's delivered later and not in front at the last, which seems important to him because he seems to just stall, bulk at the last two runners he's had. I think he's got a chance. Someone like Patrick Mullins on where his hold up style would really suit this horse, and a sensibly run, strong gallop off the pace in a Supreme, I think would really suit him. And with all these offers that you get for the first race of the festival, normally, if he's entered and if he does go here, people will put 2 and 2 together and say Donnelly colours, Willie Mullins, and they will chip away at it, and they will look for something unexposed in this race. Real Deal's rated 145, Metier is rated 147. And I think that Ganapathy will be better than Real Deal in time and very soon. So he's probably 145 right now. £2 fine to fine with Metier, possibly, who's 7-8-1 second favourite.
Yeah.
I think Ganapathy's decent enough value, and I think you've got decent enough cover with that bet.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's a very good pick from you. My pick this week, sort of an each way pick in the Sporting Life article. I'm going for a horse of Willie Mullins as well. I'm going for Unaccepted at 16-1. Now, again, he's had one run over fences this year, but what a performance it was. It was absolute amazing jumping performance. Would like to see him again. I hope we might see him potentially in the Irish Arkle. If he goes there and does well, 16-1 could be a big price. But is he going to beat Shishkin? Probably not. But again, 16-1 to finish second or third could be a decent bit. Decent bit of value.
He seems to be aimed at the Irish Arkle, and they have an obvious chance. Willie Mullins and his stable too have highlighted that he was the one at the start of the season that could be his Arkle horse. And the beginner's chase he won, he seems to have taken a lot of time to recover from that. I think Aramax has came out and won since, and Tukas has done not too badly. Captain Guinness recovered from his defibrillating heart to be a decent operator at that level. So I can see it. Inexperience at Cheltenham and his overall flaky profile is a bit of a worry. But if he gets there sound, he's certainly classy enough. Yeah,
I think he's. I think 60. I'm looking at kind of Energamina. I wish I tipped up earlier, but I just didn't. Outside of that, I'm not really keen on a lot for the Arkle, so I think Unaccepted is what to stand out to me for that race at 16-1. So I'm going to tip up Unaccepted at 16-1 for the Sport and Life Arkle. And that was our Ante Post Picks selections for this week. That will do us for this week's show. I just want to thank Calum again for coming on. It was an absolute pleasure.
Yep, as always.
Brilliant. We'll be back next week with another look. We'll be looking at the racing over the weekend and we'll be making more Ante Post Picks. If you want to get in touch and ask a question, please ask it in the questions below or on our social media pages. And as well as that, please keep in touch for more information regarding racing over the next week. Thanks very much, everyone. We'll see you soon. Cheers.